Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 308 based on novel. So let's start. Inside a secret room within the planet above the vortex sat a middle-aged man. He was extremely handsome and had the aura of a celestial. Aside from a fist-sized bronze bell, there was nothing else inside this secret room. Wang Lin's mind swept by the secret room. The man inside remained unmoved, as if he didn't notice anything, but the bell immediately let out a crisp sound. The man suddenly opened his eyes and two crazed gazes appeared. By the time this happened, Wang Lin's mind had already left. In the northern region of the Alliance star system, tens of thousands of all-heaven cultivators were fighting against the Alliance. Master Flame's Park and company were among them. The Alliance also had some powerful cultivators. The two sides had just begun their battle, but the casualties were already countless. Wang Lin's mind swept by. He saw everything, but he didn't stop for even a moment and continued to move. No one knew of his arrival and no one detected his exit. Wang Lin's mind silently left this endless bloodshed and slaughter. None of these things were able to make him stop. He continued his comprehension, and his cultivation approached the peak. He was finishing something that took others countless years to complete. His mind continued to spread until it reached an extremely secretive region in the Alliance. There was a yellow planet here that was filled with death and had no traces of life. Even spiritual energy was extremely rare here. There was not a single cultivator within millions of kilometers of this planet. It was as if this was a forbidden zone. Even when Wang Lin's mind arrived, there seemed to be some interference. When his mind swept past the yellow planet, his mind immediately entered the inner part of the planet, and there was something else inside. There was a transfer array inside this planet. This array was huge, and on the other side of the transfer array was the only rank 9 cultivation country of the Alliance. Brilliant Void Realm. It was the only rank 9 country in the Alliance, and it was very mysterious. The entire Brilliant Void Realm was not a cultivation planet but a huge continent that was like a world of its own. This was the holy land of a majority of the cultivators here. Wang Lin's mind entered the Brilliant Void Realm that very few cultivators were qualified to enter. Deep within the Brilliant Void Realm sat an old man. He was cultivating next to a slope when he suddenly opened his eyes and looked into the distance. Which fellow cultivator has come to my Brilliant Void Realm? Please show yourself. The old man was the first person who had noticed Wang Lin's presence. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with endless power of law. It was as if the law around this old man would change as he pleased. However, this person's words weren't able to awaken Wang Lin from his strange state. Wang Lin's mind swept past the Brilliant Void Realm, but before he could see it all, his mind was startled. He saw two women. One of the women was sitting at the top of a mountain. She was not an absolute beauty, but she was still beautiful. She wore a blue dress, and it flowed in the wind as the mountain wind blew. She gave off the sense of a celestial beauty. However, there was a hint of bitterness in her eyes as she looked ahead with a hint of reminiscence in her eyes. Beside her was a large tiger. This tiger was completely black and gave off a fierce aura. He raised his head and looked ahead along with the woman. However, this tiger's gaze often shifted toward the dense jungle below the mountain. The figures of a few female tigers caught his attention. His eyes were filled with excitement, as if he wished he could immediately jump down into the jungle below. "When can I leave here?" the woman bitterly muttered as she raised her head as if she was talking to the tiger. "When your cultivation level is high enough, I'll let you leave." A cold voice came from behind the woman. After hearing this voice, the woman immediately stood up. Even the tiger trembled and quickly withdrew his gaze from the female tigers in the jungle below. Along with the voice came a woman. She was wearing an elegant, blue dress, and her appearance was impossible to describe. It was as if all the stars would be bleak when compared to her. Her beauty stirred one's heart. Everyone, even powerful cultivators, would be shocked by her beauty. If she was called the #1 beauty in the Alliance, no one would object. However, the aura below the beauty was so cold that it made it impossible to get close to her, as if she was an iceberg. Perhaps there was nothing in this world that could melt her coldness. There was a very noble aura coming from within this coldness. It was a sense of pride, as if she was always the focus of attention and had the highest status. The pretty woman quickly said, "Ju are you greets master." The incomparably beautiful woman in the elegant, blue dress that could compete with the sun and moon still had a cold expression that never changed as she looked at Ju are you, and she was about to speak. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's mind arrived and he saw these two women. His mind, which never stopped, even after everything he had experienced so far, came to a crashing halt. This halt caused a powerful shock to erupt from Wang Lin's mind, causing him to awaken from that mysterious state. It was all of this was because of these two women. Perhaps others may not recognize that beautiful woman, but the moment Wang Lin saw her, an indescribable sense of bitterness filled his heart. How could he not recognize her? Wang Ping was still inside the heaven-defying bead. How could Wang Lin forget that vicious and heinous woman? He wanted to forget, but there were some pains in life he simply couldn't forget. Seeing this woman and Ju Ru caused Wang Lin to awaken from his special state. The moment he awakened, the expression of the cold and beautiful woman changed tremendously. Her coldness instantly collapsed and she suddenly raised her head to look at the sky. She felt like she had spotted the phantom of a person she had engraved deep within her memories. Liu Mai, at that instant, it was as if a vague voice had appeared from the void and entered the ears of this beautiful woman. This caused her body to tremble and she subconsciously retreated a few steps. The moment Wang Lin awakened, his mind was pulled back by the heaven-defying bead at a speed countless times faster than before. In the blink of an eye, he was pulled out of the brilliant void realm. It was a circle that was rapidly contracting. In an instant, he swept by every place he had been to. The old man in the brilliant void realm that noticed Wang Lin stared at the sky and began to ponder. The fighting in the northern region was still intense. The moment Wang Lin's mind contracted, the expressions of Master Flamespark and company changed greatly. Wang Lin. Master Flamespark revealed a look of disbelief. It was very rare to see from Master Flamespark. Not only him, but everyone who knew Wang Lin was terrified by this. Cultivation Alliance headquarters, the floating planet above the vortex. Inside the secret room, the middle-aged man suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with shock. Who is he? There was also the vermilion bird inside the sea of flames. It let out another vermilion bird cry and moved even faster. Among the stars, there was a thin figure wearing green. This person had an indifferent expression. He was walking through the stars, and his target was the Cultivation Alliance's headquarters. Behind him were countless bloody skulls, and the smell of blood filled the area. As he walked, his eyes lit up and he looked into the distance. His expression softened and he revealed a smile of admiration. Wang Lin. That child's cultivation has broken through. This aura should be the heaven-defying bead. He was able to use the heaven-defying bead to comprehend law. With this, I can relax and take this trip to Alliance's headquarters with no regrets. I will go to the Cultivation Alliance's headquarters and find the secret behind the collapse of the celestial realm. Then I'll find the true cause of my madness. Wang Lin's mind contracted like crazy. It only took a moment for it all to return. It was as if everything that had happened had reversed. He returned back to the demon spirit land, to the Celestial Emperor cave, and back into his body. Wang Lin's body trembled as if his soul had returned. What appeared before him was the floating heaven-defying bead. The heaven-defying bead slowly floated toward Wang Lin and disappeared between his eyebrows. While pondering, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes and a peak Nirvana Scryer aura erupted from his body. Along the way, Wang Lin had seen many laws, so he had reached the peak of the Nirvana Scryer stage. After a long time, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes. He looked up at the sky with a complex and cold gaze. With the help of the heaven-defying bead, he had seen too much. However, the figure of that woman he saw at the end disrupted his calm heart. The Liu Mai from back then must have been her avatar. And also Ju Ru. She unexpectedly became Liu Mai's disciple. There must be some secret behind this. Liu Mai's is far too cunning. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin suppressed the complex feelings he had from seeing Liu Mai. He withdrew his gaze from the sky and felt the powerful origin energy throughout his body. Peak of Nirvana Scryer. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. It was useless to think about other things. He was still inside the Celestial Emperor cave, so he needed to solve the immediate problem first. Everything in this world contains law. The sky, the earth, the 5 elements, everything contains its own law. If one wants to understand them all, it would take far too much time. The power of a person is limited, so it would be impossible to grasp everything. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he pondered. So the Nirvana Cleanser and even those old Nirvana Shatterer monsters often have a law they are most proficient in. For example, Master Flamespark is most proficient in the law of fire. While Wang Lin pondered, thunder shot out from his right eye. The thunder rumbled out from Wang Lin's right eye and formed a bright ball of thunder. There was a vague phantom inside the ball of thunder. It looked exactly like Wang Lin's ancient thunder dragon origin soul. It seemed like a phantom of it had appeared inside the ball of thunder. Wang Lin stared at the ball of thunder until the way he saw it vaguely changed. However, it didn't turn into lines like everything else. Although it became more transparent, no laws appeared within it. I only obtained half of the ancient thunder dragon and half of it disappeared into the tide abyss. As a result, the power of thunder is incomplete and even the law within is imperfect. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin squeezed the air and the ball of thunder scattered into countless bolts of thunder. At this moment, flames came out of Wang Lin's left eye, forming a sea of flames. There was the phantom of a vermilion bird within the sea of flames. Wang Lin looked closely and then the vermilion bird turned transparent. The endless sea of flames turned into red lines that Wang Lin could see clearly. According to my understanding of cultivation, to reach the Nirvana Cleanser stage, I must completely master one of these laws. Then I can use this law to absorb origin energy from the world and make it so the origin energy in my body never runs out. The strength of Nirvana Cleanser cultivators is greatly related to the law they choose. Wang Lin waved his hand and scattered the sea of flames, then his eyes returned to normal. The laws I'm the most familiar with are thunder and fire. However, I just obtained fire and am not yet familiar enough with it. I need to comprehend it more before I can use it to break through to the Nirvana Cleanser stage. However, breaking through like this will cause me to lose the power of thunder. If I have to give that up to reach the Nirvana Cleanser stage, there will be regrets. If I can fuse fire and thunder and use that to reach Nirvana Cleanser stage, that power should be really strong. Wang Lin moved while pondering and stepped into the deep pit. He directly went into the cave and arrived next to his original body. The woman in silver was still guarding on the side. When she saw Wang Lin's avatar, her expression didn't change. Wang Lin ignored her and fused with his original body. A moment later, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes, and the killing aura withdrew as he returned to his normal self. His eyes lit up and he stood up. The vermilion bird I saw when I borrowed the heaven-defying bead's power was exactly the same as my tattoo. I believe there is a connection. Wang Lin walked out of the fractured cave. The woman in silver silently followed, and her gaze fell on Wang Lin's back. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes. Just as he walked out from the cave, Wang Lin immediately retreated a step and exclaimed. A ray of ghostly light came from the deep pit. It moved in a line and headed straight for Wang Lin. The moment Wang Lin retreated, it arrived near him. It had slightly messy black feathers, but its eyes were still filled with intelligence. It was the star-marked sable. The sable looked very adorable. When it got close, it hung onto Wang Lin's clothes with its mouth and swung around like a swing. It also released crisp cries as it did so. After swinging around a few times, the star-marked sable borrowed the swinging force to land on Wang Lin's shoulder. It wiped its face with its claws a few times before moving closer to Wang Lin's neck and sniffing constantly. The star-marked sable liked the aura of an ancient god the most. During the time when ancient gods were still around, the star-marked sable was one of the few spirit beasts the ancient gods really liked. Wang Lin had memories of this from his inheritance. the ancient god's aura was very beneficial to the star-marked sable. If they stayed around an ancient god long enough, then it would greatly reduce their growth period. It would also cause the star-marked sable to undergo metamorphosis. Even during ancient times, a star-marked sable was a powerful ally for an ancient god once it went through metamorphosis. However, it was very difficult for a star-marked sable to undergo metamorphosis. It would require them to absorb the aura of an ancient god for a very long time. Remembering what the star-marked sable looked like after it had gone through metamorphosis from Tisu's memories made Wang Lin reveal a strange expression. After looking at the star-marked sable on his shoulder, that strange expression became even stronger. In Tsu's memories, every ancient god with a star-marked sable that had undergone metamorphosis cherished them greatly. They treated the sable like a treasure and wouldn't allow anyone to hurt it. They would become furious if an outsider even touched the sable. As the sable sniffed Wang Lin's aura, its intelligent eyes were filled with excitement. It decided to simply lie on Wang Lin's shoulder. Wang Lin raised his hand and grabbed the small sable from his shoulder. The small sable seemed very dissatisfied, and his claw grabbed hold of Wang Lin's cloth. It roared at Wang Lin as if it was brooding from having to leave Wang Lin's shoulder. Wang Lin held the star-marked sable before his face and took a closer look. He had seen this sable hundreds of years ago when he first arrived on planet Qianyun, and he had taken a liking to it back then. He never would have thought the sable would come to him hundreds of years later. This sable was very exquisite, and its intelligent eyes looked at Wang Lin while Wang Lin looked at it. After a long time, the sable grew impatient. Wang Lin revealed a smile and let go of his hand. The small sable immediately returned to Wang Lin's shoulder. It sniffed around and looked very comfortable. No longer paying any more attention to the small sable, Wang Lin was about to leave here. He was going to explore the Celestial Emperor cave using the map in the jade. However, just as he stepped out, the star-marked sable immediately looked down into the deep pit. Its eyes lit up, then it flew out and roared a few times at Wang Lin before it flew down into the pit. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked down at the deep pit. After pondering a bit, he descended along with the star-marked sable. Star-marked sables like the aura of ancient gods the most. Could it be that there is something that belonged to an ancient god down buried under the celestial burial pool? Wang Lin immediately thought of the red tendon that trapped the Tattoo clan holy ancestor. This pit seemed bottomless. No matter how much Wang Lin descended, it seemed like he was no closer to the end. The cold energy coming from the bottom became even more intense until a layer of frost appeared on the walls of the pit. It was as if there was an endless abyss down there. Although Wang Lin looked calm, he was extremely cautious. The star-marked sable was obviously very familiar with this place and had long disappeared. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Every time he exhaled, it looked like gas dragons were rushing out of his nose. The surrounding walls were covered in ice. Sharp icicles were sticking out from the side of the wall in a ring formation. Wang Lin controlled his descending speed. After an unknown amount of time, the star-marked sable flew out like a ray of ghostly light and landed on the ice. It jumped off it and landed on Wang Lin's shoulder. Slivers of cold energy came from the star-marked sable, but none of this caught Wang Lin's attention. Right now his eyes were locked on the thing below. When the star-marked sable closed in, Wang Lin vaguely felt a gaze that pierced through all obstacles and landed on him. Wang Lin stared at the bottom and remained motionless. After a long time, his origin energy began to move and two balls of flames appeared in his eyes. The flames came out of his eyes and turned into a sea of flames, spreading downwards. Borrowing the light from the sea of flames, even the darkness that his divine sense couldn't penetrate scattered a bit. Wang Lin descended downwards. That gaze made a big doubt appear in his heart, and he vaguely had some speculations. As he descended, there was more and more ice around. After 7 minutes, Wang Lin was at the bottom of the pit. At this point, he could clearly see everything below him, and it was a world of ice. Large ice blocks surrounded the area, making this palace look extremely dangerous. There was a lifelike corpse inside each ice block. Their bodies were frozen right before they died. This quiet, deep pit where no one could reach caused a chill to arise in Wang Lin's heart. The people inside the ice weren't enough to shock Wang Lin. What really shocked him was the existence deeper down. It was sealed by all the surrounding ice, leaving only some small gaps. This was the source of that gaze. Wang Lin clearly saw what was below through the gaps in the glacier. At this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. Below the gaps between the glacier, down in the depths of the pit, there was something thousands of feet tall. This giant thing was a skull. The skull of an ancient god. The skull was frozen, but its expression was clear. The eyes, which weren't closed, were filled with regret and anger. The gaze Wang Lin felt earlier came from this skull. Although countless years had passed and the ancient god was already dead and without a trace of any ancient god power left, his gaze before he died was still so lifelike that it would startle anyone who saw it. Only traces of 8 broken stars remained. Looking at the ancient god head filled with regret and anger, Wang Lin silently pondered. After experiencing so much, Wang Lin understood that the ancient gods weren't an eternal existences among the stars. However, they were the strongest clan. The ancient god clan from back then was almost extinct. Wang Lin didn't believe that it was due to cultivators. Even the powerful Thunder Celestial Realm had to use so much power to fight a weak 8-star ancient god. Only with countless celestials attacking did they manage to win with heavy losses. What kind of power could still cut off the head of this ancient god after he had shattered all 8 stars? Although shattering 8 stars at once wasn't enough to reach the power of a 9-star ancient god, it was still enough to destroy the heavens and earth. While pondering, Wang Lin slowly descended and arrived next to a block of ice that was blocking the way. Origin energy surged out from his arm and into the ice. In an instant, fire appeared on the edge of the ice and even inside it. In an instant, the ice turned into white mist and floated up into the sky. The celestial corpses were immediately turned to dust by the flames and scattered. After opening a passage, Wang Lin closed in on the giant ancient god head. While he examined the head up close, the pressure of facing a real 8-star ancient god suddenly pressed down. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin slowly descended down the ancient god head to where it was cut off. The ancient god head was wrapped in a thick layer of ice. The cut on the neck was extremely clean and smooth. Staring at the neck of the ancient god, while his expression remained calm, his pupils shrank and shock filled his heart. From the looks of this wound, this ancient god had his head cut off in an instant. There was no pause and it was an extremely clean cut. The meaning of this wound made Wang Lin's scalp tingle. He couldn't imagine who had the power to cut off an ancient god's head clean off with one spell. Could it have been Qing Lin? Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He was aghast at the situation. If Qing Lin had this kind of power, he was far too strong and already surpassed Wang Lin's imagination. Wang Lin's expression became gloomy as his divine sense carefully spread out around the head. After a scan, he found nothing abnormal and began to carefully examine the wound. After a long time, Wang Lin exclaimed. He moved closer to the ice, and his eyes were like lightning as he stared at the wound. Deep within the edge of the wound, there were some dark red crystal particles. If one didn't look carefully, it was easy to confuse it with clogged blood. This is, Wang Lin silently pondered as he raised his hand and placed it on the ice. He carefully spread out his origin energy and filled his right hand with it. Large amounts of white mist appeared under his right hand. He carefully controlled his origin energy to melt a hole in the ice. This gap was like a tunnel that extended to the wound on the ancient god's neck. Wang Lin then created a suction force to pull one of the crystal particles into his hand. His fingers held the dark red crystal particles and his divine sense slowly scanned it. As he carefully observed, Wang Lin was gradually able to see an invisible energy inside. This energy seemed to be slowly moving within the crystal and could dissipate at any time. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the invisible energy, and after pondering a bit, his divine sense moved toward the invisible energy to investigate. However, just as his divine sense entered, he suddenly felt an indescribable pressure coming from the invisible energy. It was as if Wang Lin had left this world. The entire universe was dark, and only the pressure from this invisible energy existed. This aura was so strong that just a small sliver had made Wang Lin gasp and almost subconsciously retreat. However, he forced himself to hold on and began to carefully observe it. The more he observed, the more he frowned. Even after over 1,000 years of cultivation, he had never encountered such a strange invisible energy. This wasn't celestial spiritual energy or spiritual energy. It didn't even have the slightest connection to origin energy. However, when he carefully observed it, he could see that it contained celestial spiritual energy, and origin energy, along with another energy he wasn't able to understand. It was a pile of things thrown together, yet they were perfectly combined, which caused Wang Lin a lot of confusion. What terrified Wang Lin even more was that even within this small trace of energy, there was law. It was this law that made Wang Lin's scalp tingle. There wasn't just one law, but countless laws. Almost all the countless laws Wang Lin had seen with the help of the heaven-defying bead was inside. There were many laws Wang Lin hadn't seen within it as well. Wang Lin carefully withdrew his divine sense. His face was somewhat pale as he stared at the crystal. At this moment, he felt like he wasn't holding an insignificant crystal particle but a powerful bomb. It was this power that cut the head of the ancient god, and it was not Qing Lin who possessed this power. Wang Lin stared at the crystal in his hand and thought back to planet Suzaku, when he fought against the heavens to save Li Muwen. The messenger of the heavens was unexpectedly an ancient god with his stars sealed. At that time, although Wang Lin was shocked, his cultivation level was too low to comprehend it. Thinking about it now, it wasn't just shocking, there was a heaven-shattering secret behind this. What kind of power could seal an ancient god and control him to become a messenger of the heavens? The answer came out almost immediately. Heaven's Tao. Wang Lin stared at the crystal in his hand. The moment he felt this invisible energy, his intuition told him that it was related to the seal on the ancient god who was the messenger of the heavens. However, the Heaven's Tao was an ethereal thing, so how could it do all of this? Wang Lin silently pondered and recalled what ancient demon Bei Lu had said about the ancient order's secret and how they defied the heavens. Closing his eyes, an image seemed to appear within Wang Lin's mind. An 8-star ancient god was rampaging across the endless stars, but at this moment an indescribable force descended from the heavens. In order to resist, the 8-star ancient god shattered all his stars, but his head was still cut off. Then the head was obtained by the celestial realm and placed here for an unknown reason. The force that cut the head off this ancient god didn't dissipate with time. Instead, it became these crystals. Wang Lin didn't know if any of this was true or false, he merely speculated from what he knew. He opened his eyes. After pondering a bit, he carefully put the crystal into his bag. There were still some crystals in the neck inside the ice. Wang Lin carefully pulled the crystals out and put them inside his bag. He was very careful during this entire process and pulled them one by one. Including the previous one, there was a total of 23. After doing all of this, Wang Lin stared at the wound at the ancient god's neck. There were no more crystals remaining. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin was about to leave, but his eyes suddenly narrowed and he stared into the wound on the neck. For a moment, he felt like there was a red flash. His divine sense spread out but found nothing. After pondering a bit, origin energy filled Wang Lin's right hand and the fire origin energy reached the ice. There were some cracking sounds as his origin energy tunneled through the ice and spread toward it. As the tunnel extended forward, Wang Lin stared forward without blinking. Soon, the tunnel extended deep into the ice block. At this instant, Wang Lin saw the thing that caused the red flash. It was an iron sword that was covered by countless red lines. These red lines were moving and entangled around the sword. This iron sword looked very ordinary, there was nothing abnormal about it. However, when Wang Lin saw the iron sword, he immediately felt like it was very familiar, as if he had seen something like it before. Before he could remember where he had seen this iron sword, he immediately felt a terrifying danger from the red lines around the iron sword. Wang Lin's expression changed. When his divine sense swept by with the ice in the way, he couldn't see the iron sword or the red lines. However, now that the ice had melted, they appeared clearly before his eyes. Due to caution, Wang Lin's divine sense slowly spread out and again he couldn't detect the iron sword or red lines. It was the same as before, and there was no abnormality with the head. However, he could clearly see the iron sword and red lines with his eyes, which made Wang Lin extremely vigilant. Wang Lin calmly retreated. The iron sword and the red lines around it were too strange. It was best not to mess with them. While he retreated, his eyes were still on the iron sword. There was some rust on the iron sword, as if it was a mortal object. Very familiar, Wang Lin suddenly stopped and felt as if a bolt of thunder had exploded in his mind. His eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the iron sword and sucked in a breath of cold air. He remembered. Back on planet Suzaku, inside the Suzaku tomb, he saw the same iron sword, only the rust markings on it were different. That iron sword was taken by Tuol Sen's messenger. The ecstasy on the messenger's face was something Wang Lin clearly remembered even now. This video will end here.